Welcome to the White Glove demo for ENTDECKER, the game in which you set forth to explore the new world and claim its riches. You win ENTDECKER by exploring islands and bringing back valuable produce. Hi Glover, you're quite the intrepid explorer. You might find riches, but you'll have to spend a lot of time sailing too, drinking stale water and picking bugs from biscuits. Let's get these tropical islands set up before things get too tense. This area represents the various jungle regions, and at the end of each path is a native hut. In each hut is a wise man. The new world is filled with valuable and exotic plants that can be discovered. Until then, we'll keep them in this cloth bag. Next, let's organize the discovery tiles. Make 6 shuffled piles of the blue back and question mark tiles. Sort the discovery tiles into piles by their numbered backs. Organize the numbered discovery tiles into 7 piles of like numbers. Set aside the 7 pile for player setup and put the others face up by the board. In a 4-player game, each player gets 12 scouts, 2 forts, 1 settlement, and 7 gold. Each player places 1 scout on the 0 space of the sea serpent to track their score. Using the sea tiles from the open stacks and the bonus tiles you set aside, set up the scenario. This is a good starting scenario, but there are others in the manual. Glover, are you ready to set sail for the new world? I sense valuable produce tokens in your future. Starting with the youngest player, during each turn you earn gold, choose a space from which to explore and pay your travel costs, purchase tiles to explore and then explore them, place units, and complete and score islands. If you have fewer than 4 gold, you may roll the special die for income. You get the number of gold shown, but everyone else gets 1 more than you. So if you roll a 3, you take 3 gold, and everyone else gets 4. If you roll the ship's wheel icon, you may choose to take as little as 2 gold, or as much as 6 gold, but everyone else still gets 1 more than you. Next, you choose the tile from which to begin exploring this turn by placing the Explorer's Ship token. The tile must have 1 edge where sea borders an unexplored space and must be connected to an edge space by a path of unbroken sea. You can always start from an edge space next to an unexplored space. You must start adjacent to an unexplored space, so this tile doesn't work. This tile is next to 2 unexplored spaces, but there is land in the way. This tile doesn't connect to an edge, but this tile works just fine. If your start space connects to an edge like this, it doesn't cost anything. If you connect to an edge with this icon, pay 1 gold, and if you connect to an edge with this icon, pay 2 gold. If your path from the edge of the board to the start tile passes through a tile with another player's fort or settlement, you must pay a toll of 2 gold. You can use this start tile without paying any tolls, but to start from this tile, you would have to pay white 2 gold. To start from this tile, you would have to discard 1 gold to start from this edge, pay 2 gold to the yellow player, and 2 gold to the red player. Before exploring, decide how many tiles you want to explore. Each hidden tile you plan to draw costs 1 gold. Each open tile costs 4 gold. After paying, draw and resolve your tiles 1 by 1. There are 3 unexplored spaces next to the ship, but since the sides of tiles must match, these spaces don't work. The new tile must be placed here. Once a tile is placed, move the ship onto that tile. Repeat this exploration until you've drawn all the tiles you paid for, until there are no more sea edges on the tile with the ship, or until you decide to place a unit. If a tile cannot be legally placed, discard it and draw another if you paid for more. No refunds, Glover. Sorry. Tiles with question marks trigger events only if they are placed. There are 4 events, 2 good and 2 bad. If a gold mine is revealed, you get 3 gold. If it's a pirate, you lose half your gold. If it's a storm, your turn ends, and you may not place any more tiles or units. If it's friendly natives, you get to place a scout on a jungle path. We'll see those soon. A settlement, fort, or scout can be placed on a newly explored tile as long as there is land. Some units collect tolls, but all units can help harvest discovery points from islands. It costs 6 gold to play a settlement, 3 gold to play a fort, and 1 gold to play a scout. A unit can only be placed in the most recently explored space. If a space is completely surrounded by explored spaces, or a group of spaces is completely surrounded by land, they are filled. Pull tiles from the open stacks that match the sides of existing tiles. This space is completely surrounded by land, so it needs to be filled with land tiles. Once an island is completed, it is scored. An island is worth 1 point for each tile used to build the island. This island is worth 9 points to the main discoverer. The main discoverer is the player with the most valuable unit on the island. If only one player has built a settlement on the island, that player is the main discoverer. Otherwise, it's the player with the most forts, and then the player with the most scouts. Yellow gets 9 points as the main discoverer. The next ranking player gets half the points rounded up. The third place player on the island gets 1/4 the points. The fourth place player gets 1/8 the points. Settlements and forts from finished islands are returned to the player of that color. Scouts from finished islands go to explore the jungle. A scout can be placed on any path and goes in the open space closest to the hut. When a scout is placed on a black dot, that player draws a produce token from the cloth bag, looks at the tile, and stashes it in the native hut. All the scouts from a scored island are placed on jungle paths, taking turns starting with the player whose turn it is. The player whose scout is placed on the eye space gets to examine the produce token in the hut. It's important to know which produce is in which hut because they are worth as few as 5 or as many as 15 points. At the end of the game, the player with the most scouts on a path gets to score a number of discovery points equal to the number on the produce token. If 2 players have the same number of scouts, the player with the scout closest to the hut gets the points. Players continue taking turns until all the undiscovered territory is covered in discovery tiles. Islands are scored when completed, and produce from huts are scored at the end of the game. Then the player with the most discovery points wins. And that's how you play ENTDECKER. Clever, you've grown wealthy on the bounty of the land. Well, now at least you won't get scurvy on the way home.